When we talk about AI, we usually talk about ChatGPT and all the cool things it can do. But underneath all that, there's a much, much bigger story unfolding. It's a story about power, about money, and about an ambition that's on a scale we really haven't seen before. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the hidden architecture of this AI boom, this new kind of empire being built right under our noses. So, what does $1 trillion even look like? I mean, try to wrap your head around that number. It's not just some figure on a balance sheet. It's the potential cost of building an entirely new global infrastructure, one that's designed to control what might be the most valuable resource of our lifetime, intelligence itself. And this quote right here, it just nails it. We're not just talking about OpenAI as a single company anymore. We're talking about this concept of AI Inc. Think of it as a framework, a strategic web of alliances and deals, all designed to control every single link in the AI supply chain, from the silicon that goes into the chips all the way to the software that you're using. So how are they actually pulling this off? Well, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by really defining what AI Inc. is and digging into the grand vision of its architect. Then we'll look at the specific, massive deals they're making and this kind of controversial circular money machine that's funding it all. And of course, we'll look at the cracks in this empire before we explore three very different futures for AI. Okay, so at the very center of this massive, sprawling network, you've got one person, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. And really, to get what AI Inc. is all about, you first have to understand his vision. It's a strategy that's built on a few core beliefs about the future. And let me tell you, they are audacious. Altman's entire playbook really rests on these three pillars. First, there's what you could call the AGI imperative. This is this almost religious mission to build superintelligence, for the good of humanity, of course. Second is this idea of compute as destiny, this absolute belief that raw computing power is the ultimate resource, the real currency of the future. And third, the energy intelligence nexus, this critical insight that all this AI magic, it runs on good old-fashioned electricity. So what is this AGI, this end goal they're all racing towards? Well, OpenAI themselves define it as highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work. Think about that. This isn't just another research project. It's framed as this world-changing mission, and that is the moral justification for gathering this unprecedented amount of money and resources. Now, this is where things get really fascinating. This quote connects the digital world of AI to the very real physical world of power plants. Altman truly believes that the cost of intelligence will basically become the cost of energy. And he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's personally invested hundreds of millions into nuclear fusion and fission companies. He's not just thinking about building the AI factories. He's trying to figure out how to build the power plants that will run them. It's an incredible level of foresight. So a vision this massive doesn't become a reality by itself, right? You need partners, and Altman has gone out and forged a series of absolutely mind-boggling, multi-billion-dollar deals. You can think of these partnerships as the actual concrete pillars that are holding up the entire structure of AI Inc. The first and most important pillar has always been Microsoft. In the beginning, it was pretty simple. Microsoft was the exclusive patron, the one writing the checks and providing the cloud computing that OpenAI desperately needed. But things have changed. Now it's way more complicated. It's this codependent partnership, almost like an open relationship, where they're both partners but also increasingly rivals. Each one is hedging their bets. Okay, so after you've got the cloud, you need the hardware, the GPUs. And the strategy here is just brilliant. It's a two-pronged attack. With Nvidia, the undisputed king of chips, they made a massive deal to lock in supply for the long term. But then, just a few weeks later, they turn around and make a deal with Nvidia's biggest rival, AMD. Now, this wasn't just about having a backup plan. This was about making a market. They legitimized a competitor to drive down prices, and they got a direct financial stake in that competitor's success. It's a power move. And right here on this slide, this is where you can see the whole puzzle come together. It is a masterclass in strategy. Look at how each piece fits. You've got the $10 billion from Microsoft to get things started. You've got the up to $100 billion deal with Nvidia to lock in the engines. Then the AMD deal to create competition and a financial hedge. And then you see these massive deals with Oracle and Google. That is a declaration of independence. It's OpenAI breaking free from being exclusively tied to Microsoft, creating a multi-cloud strategy, and basically forcing everyone to compete for their business. Every single one of these deals is a deliberate brick in the wall of the empire. But how do you pay for all of this? I mean, the numbers are just staggering. And that brings us to the most controversial part of this whole story, the wild financial engineering going on behind the scenes. It's a system that people have started calling a circular money machine. Okay, let's follow the money here, because it can get a little tricky, but the basic idea is pretty simple. Step 1, Nvidia says it plans to invest up to $100 billion into OpenAI. Step 2, OpenAI takes a big chunk of that money and uses it to fund its enormous cloud deal with Oracle. And then step 3, Oracle takes all that new cash and uses it to buy billions of dollars worth of new GPUs from, you guessed it, Nvidia. The money just flows in a circle. And, it's making a lot of people nervous, drawing some pretty uncomfortable comparisons to the kinds of financing schemes that we saw right before the dot-com bubble burst. And this chart, wow, this really just lays bare the reality of OpenAI's finances. On one side, you have this mind-blowing $500 billion valuation. I mean, it's the most valuable private company in the world. But then you put that right next to the numbers from the first half of 2025. $4.3 billion in revenue versus a nearly $8 billion operating loss. This is not a normal business, folks. This is an incredibly high-risk, high-burn-rate gamble that they can achieve total domination of the future. So you look at all this, and the empire seems invincible, right? But the way it's built, its very structure, actually creates some deep, deep vulnerabilities. It's a system with a ton of leverage, and we're starting to see some serious cracks in the foundation. You can really break the risks down into 4 key areas. First, the whole financial model is fragile. It completely depends on nonstop exponential growth, and that is just not a guarantee. Geopolitically, the entire industry, the entire world's AI industry, depends on one single company, TSMC in Taiwan, to make the most advanced chips. That's a huge choke point. Then you've got the regulators in the US and Europe who are starting to circle, asking some really tough questions about monopolies. And finally, there's always a threat that someone somewhere will invent a new, leaner, more efficient technology that could make this entire trillion-dollar machine obsolete overnight. But maybe the biggest threat of all isn't financial or technical, it's philosophical. By trying to centralize so much power inside AI Inc., they've sparked a powerful rebellion. And this, right here, is the central conflict for the future of AI. It's a battle between 2 completely different visions, a closed proprietary model controlled by a tiny handful of companies versus an open-source, decentralized movement that's fighting to keep this technology accessible to everyone. So, where does this all lead? With these massive forces at play, the empire builders on one side and this open rebellion on the other, it really feels like the future of AI is heading toward one of 3 very different outcomes. Scenario 1, the empire succeeds. AI Inc. makes it through the challenges and becomes basically the electric company for intelligence. Scenario 2, the bubble bursts. The whole financial house of cards collapses, leading to a massive market crash and a new AI winter. Or Scenario 3, which is maybe the most likely, the bifurcated world. A future where the centralized empire of AI Inc. has to coexist and compete with this vibrant, innovative, open-source ecosystem. So when you boil it all down, we're left with this one fundamental question. The empire is being built as we speak. There's no doubt about that. But its total victory is not a done deal. The choices that are being made right now, by builders, by investors, by all of us, are going to decide whether the most powerful technology humanity has ever created is going to be controlled by a few, or if it's going to remain open for everyone. This special episode of the AI Daily Deep Dive podcast was researched by Gemini Deep Research and is fully AI generated.